Hello, sunshine. I promise this will be better than Saturday Night Live. It is the story of how I became a millionaire overnight. You don't believe me? Eat your heart out. It all began when I placed an ad on Craigslist looking for an investor in my pharma startup to fund clinical trials of my Alzheimer drug formulation. Sure enough, somebody from the UK was interested. Turned out he was a finance broker who offered me $600,000 sight unseen. Not quite what I wanted, but a good start. No advance fees, no charges. Hell, there are still some honest people out there. Or at least people who do appreciate a good return on investment. You must understand that if my drug is successful, as it turned out to be during preliminary trials, Big Pharma may just offer $500 million to buy it. Well, it took a few weeks before the broker was ready and sent me an email in which he informed me that the investor had made an error and made out the check for $1.5 million rather than the $600,000 intended. And I should return the difference of $950,000 to an account he would provide me. Oh well. But then the bank screwed up and sent the bank draft of all places to Nigeria. Ay caramba. As it turned out, the bank draft originated in London at HSBC Bank and was made out for 1.1 million euros. I should deduct the $600,000 and transfer the remainder into an account yet to be given to me. 3 red flags in a row. Who was the broker anyway? He claimed to live in Manchester, UK. I began to get curious, so I went into my Gmail account, clicked on the arrow next to reply, and then on show original. That got me the routing data, including the IP address where the email originated. Next, I went to whatsmyipaddress.com and entered the IP number. And voila, here we go. Where the hell is Lagos? Nigeria? Ha! Gotcha. Is this guy a scamster? Well, while I am suspicious, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt. You see, even in Nigeria, there are people who will understand that the return on investment, the ROI in this case, can be 100 times the invested amount within 5 years. I'm serious. Pfizer paid that as a license fee alone for a drug that didn't work after all. Way more than a scam can yield, don't you think? Meanwhile, Mr. Lawrence James called me on my cell phone and asserted me that everything was okay and I did not need to worry. He left his call ID on my cell, and nosy as I am, I checked the country code. As I suspected, 234 is Nigeria. But guess what? The bank draft arrived via DHL. It had been sent by somebody in Lagos by name of Brandy Bankole. Bankole? Let's check it out. The only name I could find was a Dimeji Bankole. But he was the Speaker of the House and hated by the opposition who accused him of taking bribes. Yikes. In the meantime, I voiced doubt to the broker that this case was legit, but was in turn instructed to scan the bank draft and send a copy to a UK clearinghouse called Euroclear-UK.com. I did. And sure enough, a day later, I received confirmation that the draft had been verified and was authentic. Ha! That worked out all right, didn't it? Now, who was EuroclearUK.com? I checked their website and boy, do they need an IP professional. Their site came up blank. So I went to whois.net and found the reason why they didn't have a website. The domain name had just been registered about when I started negotiating with the broker. So nosy as I am, I checked who the domain was registered to, and surprise, The company that operated in the UK was registered to somebody in Oceanside, California. Ha ha! I lived in Oceanside 5 years when my son tried to escape my discipline and joined the Marine Corps and was stationed in Camp Pendleton. So I knew Oceanside pretty good and never heard of a street with that name. Obifami what? So I went back to the email and checked its origin, and guess what? The IP address was also located in Lagos. Now isn't that efficient? In the meantime, I attempted to get confirmation from HSBC Bank, both in the US and in London. They refused 5 times. I mean, come on now. Every legitimate bank has a merchant check clearing facility. Just imagine I had returned the erroneous overpay and the bank draft turned out to be phony. What made me cautious was that I realized that one of the numbers on the bottom of the check was somewhat washed out, like it was printed on an inkjet printer. I checked why HSBC refused to confirm that there had been a draft made out in my name and came across a page on their website that scared me. HSBC openly invited scamsters to place a stop order on the bank draft and claims it would promptly be honored. Oh boy, I tell you. I did some more checking and found that HSBC is the bank's second most often named in fraud complaints. Now that is a record. So I wrote a nasty letter to the CEO and chairman of HSBC Holding in London, and after it had been refused by HSBC personnel to be forwarded to Mr. Flint, I sent it by mail. Meanwhile, having become suspicious, I filed complaints with the district attorney in Orlando, the NSA, because the returned money could have been used for terrorist funding, to the Secret Service, which has jurisdiction in bank matters, to no avail. Nobody was interested or even responded. Which means, if you get involved in something like this, you are on your own. Well, let me tell you something, bring it on. By the way, I had deposited the check in my bank account, but not without warning my branch manager not to release any money until they had been actually paid. And sure enough, 2 months after the check was presented to HSBC, their legal department confirmed that my suspicion was correct. The draft was fraudulent. Oh, the broker still tells me to this day that the draft was okay. And I told him I believe him too. Now, checking out where to file a complaint in Nigeria, isn't it interesting that the Nigerian government has a website that accepts complaints, except that the evidence sent to them as well as any email goes never through. Are you telling me that the Nigerian government is corrupt? No way. I'll see you. Oh, did I tell you about the lockbox I should pick up in Madrid? Hey, it contains 5 million, which is nothing compared to the 12,000 euros I should pay as a late storage fee for it. But that's a story for another day.